Hey everybody, I'm back with part 2. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to drape the corset. You guys ready? Let's get into this. So the first step is to look at our design and ask ourselves, where are we going to mark on the fabric? Is it the front or the back of the draping tape? You always have to remember where you marked. When you mark the next panel, you have to put it on the one you chose. If you don't, you're going to mess up your design. So I chose the front. But for the back, I will be using the back of the draping tape. For the bra cup, I will mark the bottom of the draping tape. The top piece of the cup will be marked on the bottom of the tape. For the two sides, I will mark the front of the tape. And for the V part, I will mark this line and follow my design. Here are the pieces that we blocked in part 1. Let's start draping. Here is the first panel. This is the waist and this is the selvage. Take the waistline and put it right on the waistline of the dress form. Put a pin, then take another pin and put it on the opposite side so it doesn't move. Then put this line on the center front and put a pin on top to hold it. From there, put some pins on the center front. I can see the waistline over here, so I will put a pin here on the waistline of the dress form and then continue putting pins over here like this. It's not going to let me put a pin on the top because there's fabric in the way. So I'm going to put a pin right here and then start cutting some of the fabric off. I like to leave about 1 inch to a ½ inch of the fabric. Same thing for over here. I don't need this part right here, so I'm gonna just cut it off. Now it's time to start clipping the fabric so it can relax on the dress form. When you're cutting, don't cut too close to the draping tape line. Leave about a ½ inch. Then I'm going to take my pencil and start marking on the draping tape line that I chose. I'm marking the end of the V shape right here. Then I will mark the inside of the V shape like this. The top of the V is right here, I can see it. Next, I'm going to mark on the bottom of the draping tape. Remember, I decided to mark the front of the tape for all the panels, except for the center back. Now you can move this to the side or you can take it off. If it gets too crowded, then just take it off. Next is panel number 2. This is the waist and this is the grain line. The grain line will be parallel to the center front. I'm going to put the grain line in the middle of panel number 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will put a pin at the point of the intersection of the waist and grain line. Then I'm going to put another pin on the other side of the intersection. After that, I will put a pin on each side of the waistline like this. Once I do that, the top and bottom of the grain line will fall into place as you can see. Next, pin all around it. You will notice that it won't let me pin right here. That's because the fabric needs to be cut and clipped all around so the fabric can lay flat. After that, I will start marking the front of the tape. Remember, panel number 1 was marked on the front, so panel number 2 has to follow that. Do the same process for panel number 3, 4, and 5. For panel number 6, I will put the fabric on the center back line. Watch how I do this so you can understand how to do it. The bust cups will be explained shortly, so don't miss it. It will help you understand more on how to drape cups and distribute at ease. That's where some beginners get stressed out. But don't worry because I got you. I'll be right back. All right, we are here. Let's drape the cups together. For the top piece, you can put a piece of fabric on the center front and then put pins around it. After that, cut around the fabric and mark it. For the second piece, put the grain line parallel to the center front. Then put pins, and after that, clip all around it. Then when you finish cutting it, mark it all around like this. Now, before we move on to the third piece, let me explain something to the beginners. This is the grain line and is parallel to the center front on the muslin. But when you put it on a design that has a curve, the grain line will automatically curve, and that is normal. The grain line will always look crooked around the curve. But when you release the fabric, it will go back to being parallel to the center front. Also, keep in mind when it comes to the side of the breast, the apex seam will have extra fabric. It's to shape the cup for the breast. So if the dress form has small breasts, it will have a little bit of extra fabric. And if the dress form has big breasts, it will have a lot of extra fabric. Let me show you. Lay the fabric in the middle of this piece right here. After that, put some pins and clip around the side. When you put the grain line parallel to the center front, you will notice that the third piece has extra fabric and it automatically wants to form a dart. But don't panic about the dart because it will go away once you open it up and evenly distribute the ease around it. So when you sew it to the second piece, it fits nicely. So I like to start in the middle and make a crease, then pin it in the middle like this. I'm going to distribute the ease on this side and all this over here. This can take some time, so what I like to do is put some music on and work it with my fingers like this. This is how it looks so far. It's not finished, okay? I just want to show you how the extra fabric is starting to disappear in the cup. I will continue this offline because I'm kind of a neat freak and I know I will be here all day easing it in. So I'm gonna do it off camera. You see, I eased in all the extra fabric and it's neat. When I put it on the table to make a pattern, I will have about 1/4 to 3/8 extra on the pattern. And when you sew it to the second piece, the ease will disappear in the cup. It will have the fullness you need for the breast to fit in. Here's the fabric pieces. This is the waistline. The next step is to connect the dots like this. After I mark it, I will pin all the pieces together, starting with the waistline and then everything else. Next, I'm going to put it back on the dress form so that I can check the fit. The bottom of the bust looks good. The waist is in place. But as you can see on the bottom, the lines are not matching up. So I'm going to mark under the draping tape line all around with a red pencil. The center back looks good. I corrected this line. I started marking here and then I went down over here where it wanted to curve. Now it looks better. Next is the bust cup. As you can see, I eased in the extra fabric so that this piece can fit in here. This line looks nice. When I look at this line, I wasn't too happy with it. Under the bust looks good, but over here the line is not on top of the draping tape. So I decided to take the red pencil and mark a line on the top. Everything has to connect. Once you're satisfied with the fit, then you can put notches. I put a notch here so when I sew the cup, I know where to connect the top piece to the bottom piece. Then I will put a notch here, here, and here. After that, I like to write my notes on the muslin to remind myself that I will sew a 3/8 inch stitch for the boning, a 1/2 inch stitch for the eyelets, and another 3/8 inch stitch for the boning here. It's also going to remind me to make 2 pieces of panel number 6. One will be a 1 piece for the boning and eyelets, and the other one will be cut in 2 pieces, which will have a lacing bar for the boning and eyelets. The next step is making the pattern. When I trace my patterns from muslin to paper, I don't like using my table or cutting mat because I don't want holes from the tracing wheel on it. So I use a cork bulletin board. You can use push pins or pins to keep the paper from moving. I have 3 different types of tracing wheels. This one is called a serrated tracing wheel. This one is also called a serrated tracing wheel. And this one is called a needle point tracing wheel. If you are using a bulletin board, you don't want to use a needle point tracing wheel because it will rip the paper easy. Let me show you. As you can see, these holes are big and the paper will rip apart. This one is not as deep as a needle point, and this one is okay. But the line can disappear fast if you don't press it a little hard when you're tracing. Most of the time, I like to use this one, but I like to use the purple tracing wheel too. So basically, you just put the muslin on the paper and trace all the lines. Then mark the lines with the ruler. After that, write your notes on the paper pattern like this. For the seam allowance, I like to put a 1/2 inch. I also like to put a 1/2 inch seam allowance for the center front, just in case I want a seam in the front. This is how my pattern pieces look. As you can see, I made 2 pieces of panel number 6. One has a 1 piece and the other is a 2 piece, which has a lacing bar. Before I took the drape off the dress form, I decided to drape a yoke, just in case I want to add more designs to it, and then I made the pattern. I did not cut off the back yoke right here, because this is going to be the block pattern. Whatever designs I want to create, I will use the tracing paper and trace the back pattern block, and make my designs from the tracing paper. The next tutorial will be part 3, where I show you how to sew the corset. There's different ways to sew this. If you would like to see the sewing tutorial, please give this video a like and share it so it can help other creators who would like to know about fashion. If you haven't seen how to prepare the dress form in part 1, then click or tap on this video right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to practice, practice, practice. Bye, everybody.